Hello and welcome to the Dose of Pharma podcast. My name is Jess and I'm a third year pharmaceutical science student. I'm currently also a mentor for a group of first year students in this course, and I'm so excited to be part of the podcast, especially for all the interesting people we'll get to meet and talk to.
Hey guys, I'm Pranav. I'm also a third year pharmaceutical science student. Before we start, I just wanted to thank all of you for tuning in to our very first episode of 2021. I'm also an international student ambassador to Monash. I hope you guys enjoy it.
So the topic of today's episode is beauty of hindsight. And sometimes it's only when looking back on a situation that we can evaluate it properly and realize what we may have done differently. Reflection is a powerful tool, and with the acquisition of knowledge, we at times can wish we made different choices. Today we'll speak with our guests and discover how they went about their time at university and what factors they considered when making decisions relating to their future. Most importantly, we will ask what they would have done differently if they could go back and do it all again. So I'm delighted to introduce our first guest, which is Megan Faith. Megan is currently a third year pharmaceutical science student who recently completed a summer internship at CSIRO, focusing on nanomedicine and cancer. Furthermore, she's a student ambassador at Monash, often volunteering at events around campus. Being in her third year, she has the ability to consider the past few years of her degree and contemplate how she got to where she is now, and if, in retrospect, there is anything she would have done differently.
I don't think that's ever been the case. We've never had the three guests be in the same year level. So we can have a very sort of a relatable discussion, and we can look back and see what things we could have done differently or where we could have improved ourselves, and just a lot more introspection on the past 3 years of our young life.
Yep. Yeah. No, it'll be good for anyone thinking of doing this course or anyone in the early years, but then also pretty relatable to anybody else in our year level.
100%.
So we'll get into the questions. Our first question for you, Megan, is what strategies did you take to engage in your studies and extracurricular commitments, such as internship and organizations, while keeping your personal goals in mind?
Yep. So I would start off this question by saying that first, I need to know what my personal goals are. So last year during COVID, during lockdown, it was the perfect opportunity for me to actually reflect on what I really want to do, what I want to do in a short-term and long-term perspective. And so what I wanted to do in the short-term perspective is that I wanted to be more involved in uni. So that's why I applied as a student ambassador, as a PISA representative too, where I'm holding the role as a treasurer right now. And I also want to know where my true passion lies in. It sounds very cliche, but I'm still contemplating whether I want to go to industry or research.
Yeah.
And because of lockdown, I know I couldn't go back to my home country. I'm an international student from Indonesia, and every year I will go back because my parents will tell me to, but I know that this year will be different, and I couldn't go back to Indonesia. So I decided to do something productive, and I really wanted to do an internship to actually discover whether I like research. So that's a goal that I set for this year. And I think in terms of strategies on how I engage to my extracurricular activities, my internships and stuff like that, I learned to keep a planner. I set daily goals too in my planner, what I want to do today, but I make it quite flexible to the extent where it doesn't give pressure to myself. So I think that is a good way to keep track on what goals I want to achieve that day. And I also put some sticky notes, let's go.
Yeah, the motivational
push.
Exactly.
I like that. Yeah.
Motivate yourself. So those are some strategies that I think that work for me.
Yeah. I find it really interesting that you made that decision. So was it the second year during COVID? that then you decided to be more involved in university. So I think it really shows that just because like you didn't join everything during like O week of first year doesn't mean that you can't become part of these clubs and really become involved in the university at any stage.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like uni is just not about like classes, studying and like
Definitely.
knowledge. It's always about like those extracurriculars help you a lot when you apply for any job, because while uni teaches you knowledge, those extracurriculars really help you with your other skills, such as be it communication, be it leadership and organizational skills. It sort of like reinforces your ability to implement the knowledge you've learned, because say you've done an extracurricular as a, so like Megan said, she's a treasurer, so she regularly communicates with people in PISA and also might have interacted with like large audiences as a part of her event. So just improving that communication might help you down the line in like improving how you present your presentation for your PhD or your research. So it's not like those efforts don't go to waste. They always help you out in one way or another.
Yeah, the social side of it as well must be good on top of all like those great employability things. Like you're doing it, it's a lot of fun. You get to meet a lot of people and stuff like that. That must definitely help with being away from your family. That must be hard, but it's good that you've made the most of it. You've had like these really big things to deal with COVID and had to be away from your family, and you haven't just like sat around being sad for yourself. You've gone out and tried to like really take advantage of being put in that situation.
I relate to that. I'm also, because I'm an international student as well, and like it's a thing. You go back at least once a year, and that's like you're relaxed. You know, you go back. You don't have to cook. You don't have to clean. It's just like it's like a vacation on top of a vacation.
Yeah.
But yeah. So like I agree with that. It's already hard enough to like, so it's like say like you go for those 3 months, so it's hard enough to like, okay, these 3 months I can't go back home, so I need to make my time worthwhile, which is something Megan has done really well. So yeah, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I think like to follow on from that, we can move into our next question, which is why have you decided to do honours or that internship, and like why in that specific area? You talked about how you were weighing up research and industry, and like what kind of pushed you towards either way.
Yep. So just a bit of background too. I actually was compelled to apply for it was the Cancer Council Victoria Summer Internship Program. So it was for 2020 to 2021. And they were accepting projects from students during the June to July period. And that is when lockdown struck to Melbourne. And so that was that period. I just thought about what I really wanted to do, like what I said earlier. And I tried to, so what I did was I actually emailed lecturers and professors in Monash. I sent them emails, like just copy paste. That was like copy paste my emails to like lots of lectures. And I did not expect anything, honestly. I was expecting them to be really busy. They have thousands and hundreds of emails every day. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to give it a shot. But apparently one professor was kind enough to get back to me, and we worked things out from there. I did some admin work and I applied for the Cancer Council Victoria studentship. So they told me during September or October that I actually did not get the internship. So I was quite demotivated at that time, and I was like, oh, all my hard work didn't pay off, blah, 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 blah. But then because I came this far, I shot an email to my professor, and I asked him whether they could still take me in without the funding from Cancer Council Victoria. And I know at that time I was very embarrassed, and I was quite hesitant to actually ask my professor, but I did anyways, and it led me to this internship. So what I'm trying to say here is that I didn't get it in my first shot too, but in any situation, if you're in the same situation as I am, don't give up in what you know, if you've made it that far, don't give up yet, because the end of the tunnel is right there, and it just takes a bit of faith, a bit of like that leap of faith that you need to take to reach your goal. And yeah, back to the topic. Why did I choose this project? The project was about cancer and about nanomedicine. So in terms of cancer, it needed to be a project about cancer because I was applying for the Cancer Council Victoria, and they said one of the rules is that your project needs to be around cancer. So that was set. But in terms of nanomedicine, I actually didn't choose it myself. And as I said, I sent emails to lecturers, professors, and I just happened to come across the nanomedicine field, which I was very grateful for. But in terms of my goals or my research interests, I did not really have a vision or image on what I actually like to do. So I'm just very grateful of anything I got. I already told myself anything I got, I'm just gonna do it, and I'm gonna, I know it's good for me because that will expose me to a new field, to a new topic. And I think that last year and this year still was an exploring phase for me. So yeah, that was that.
Yeah, it sounds like the perseverance and like seizing all the opportunities and just like going for it has really gotten you to where you are.
Yeah, like you didn't come this far to come only this far.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's something like that's a great thing to think about if like you're down in the dumps, or if it's a very like the current job market, it's very competitive. It's very rare to like this is what you want, like to get that on your first shot. So
yeah,
you don't want to let that hold you back. You want that to like inspire you in retrospect on that, like just exactly what today's podcast is about, retrospect on your mistakes and what you could have done differently and how you could have improved those mistakes, so that when you apply for it the second time, you have a much higher probability of getting that position or whatever internship or a job position, the one you wanted in the first place.
Yeah, definitely. To like look back and fix whatever mistakes you've made and to be better from getting those rejections.
100%.
How did you find out about like the Cancer Council one in the first place? Was that also through like you taking the initiative and having the motivation to go looking for it?
I think I saw it in one of I'm not sure which lecture said about this, but maybe it was Laurence. I'm not sure, but she said something about some internship in this Cancer Council Victoria. And there was also the Monash sourced internships, but unfortunately they didn't have the in terms of pharmaceutical science or pharmacy last year and this year. So I just searched it up online and I came across the Cancer Council Victoria studentship, and I just read through it and applied.
Just taking initiative, just like seizing whatever opportunities you can find, and just like taking that extra step, it's always going to be worth it. It always pulls through, and it's always going to lead to some form of professional or personal development. So it's a lot of work, but if you think about it, like it's that little bit of effort is going to help you so much after, like when you start your career. So looking back, those extra 2-3 days when you spent applying or researching what you wanted to do, or like making a good cover letter, it obviously pays off much more than the time you've put into it.
Yeah, and like we were saying earlier, that even if you don't get that opportunity after putting in those 3 days, it doesn't matter. Like you still gain something from doing that.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's like really interesting learning about all like the cancer research and the nanomedicine and how that's been involved in the cancer research. Yeah, that must be fascinating.
It's very insightful.
Yeah. Do you think you gained more, like, was it more about like learning like the research in like in general or in like specific area? Like what kind of benefits did you get from doing that summer internship?
So definitely the cliche answer would be I've gained technical skills. I've used this technical instrument, blah, 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 and, leadership skills, teamwork. But I would say something that I've learned out of this internship was that it's like the working life, I would say. Something that I wouldn't get from uni, because it's quite different, like your working life or an internship or something that's very hands-on instead of like a group project that you do in uni. So that is something I really found insightful from the internship. And I also learned about confidence a lot too, because CSIRO wasn't this year, they weren't like offering any internships actually. So I got in CSIRO because one of the professors that I got in touch with had a lab in CSIRO. So it wasn't actually offered by CSIRO. And so I was surrounded by people who were doing their PhDs, their postdocs, professors, and it really made me feel a bit intimidated in a way.
Yeah.
I felt that I was very like, what am I? Like such a noob, being amongst all these pros and stuff. But what I learned from that was just because I needed to do it anyways. There was my first day when I came, I felt quite intimidated, but the only way is forward. So I need to go and just do that internship. So because of that situation, I think that I've developed too as a person, because I became confident in myself too, in a way that, I'm an undergrad student, but I still claim that spot to be there. So I just need to live up to my role as an undergrad student and as a summer intern. So, but they were also really supportive of me, and the working environment, it wasn't as scary or daunting as I thought it will be. And I ended up making so many new friends, although they are older than me. They all have families. The funny thing was, we actually went for for dinner after I finished my internship, and everyone had their own partners. They came with partners. So there were 11 people, and I was the only one without a plus one, which was quite funny if you think about it, because everyone had families. But it was a funny and interesting experience for me too.
So you're able to adapt and fit in with a different group of people to what you're used to at university.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would have gone back to that first day of your internship, if you could go back there now, what would you tell yourself as advice?
I would say, they're all human. in that situation, we are in the same level, no matter, I'm an undergrad student, you're a postdoc, you're a PhD, we're still there too. We're also learning, because we're still, in the research field. We're still learning about the research field, because they're doing their projects in research too. So it's I will tell myself that don't be intimidated, because you're an undergrad student. Your level doesn't portray or determine who you are as a person. And
I mean, they obviously they were in your position at some point of time. So it's better if you think about it like that yes, they were in my position 2 years ago, 4 years ago, or 6 years ago. So they understand and they know exactly how you'll be feeling, and they reciprocate in a similar manner. She's new, she's going to be intimidated, but then they obviously know all of that because they've been in your position. Although it is intimidating, but you need to take that in a positive manner. Look at how far these people have come. It's like a personal inspiration. Look at what he's doing. It's such a milestone. Look at what she's doing. So we need to set those as our own personal milestones, and keep looking up to them, so that we can keep ourselves motivated to get where our idols or our heroes are.
Well said.
You can always link that into the topic with being they can be retrospective on their time during doing an undergraduate degree, and how they could make it easier for Megan in her position.
So talking about motivation, it's a question for all of us. So what do we use what do we use to keep ourselves motivated? And uni is pretty stressful, 5 days a week, and we obviously, all of us, like Megan said, we're all human. We all need breaks. So what do we do to keep ourselves on the right track and always motivated?
I link very much strongly to what Pranav was saying earlier, and I look at those people doing the doctorates and our lecturers a lot of the time doing their research, and I find that so inspiring, and that's what really motivates me, is looking at where I can be in the future and wanting to get there, because it's so exciting and fascinating to me. And it's I've got to work hard now, and then I can get to a place in the future where I'm doing this really interesting stuff every day. And that's what really pushes me and motivates me.
You can get to go next.
Sure. Okay, I can go next. What just said was really resonated with me. But I personally I know what it feels like to fall behind, and it's like a really unpleasant feeling, and I don't want to feel that way. So and during high school there were times where I actually, okay, my time management skills really sucked back then, let me tell you. So I fall behind in my subjects quite a lot, and like I don't want to feel that in uni. So I that's what keeps on motivating me too, in a sense that, you know, this feeling is not pleasant and I don't want to be in that position. So I just, I know it sounds a bit like weird, you know, but yeah, you know, everyone has their own thing that, I guess.
It's almost like I might feel bad and be stressed now.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll feel worse if I don't do it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, yep. Everyone has their own like method, or just like everyone has their own coping mechanisms. Everyone has their own way to keep themselves motivated. Yeah. Someone like, I know friends who start an assignment a day earlier and they do really well at it because that's their way of, that's just how they work, you know. Yeah, it's just different for everybody. Yeah,
like, and what also helps me is to remind myself that I'm doing this course because I'm interested in it, and like the actual content's really fascinating, and it may be a lot and it may be overwhelmed, but if I like think about the fundamentals, this is something I enjoy doing.
Yeah, like you just need to find your passion, you know, and like once you find your passion, you don't need so much of like extra motivation, because like since you enjoy the thing you're doing so much, you never feel too much of it, or like, oh, I'm bored, I don't want to do this. It's always like pushing you from inside that, oh, this is fun, this is something I enjoy, this is something I want to do. And even about the, you know, like when you're small, you're like, your parents tell you in grade 10 that, okay, finish grade 10, then 11, once you're in grade 11 and 12, it's going to be easier. Then you finish your 11, 12, like, oh, wait, that wasn't. But then your parents tell you that, oh, you just finished 12, university is going to be much easier. But yeah, so it's not like that, but it's everything. You just have to take it on as a challenge, you know, and what you sow is what you reap, right?
Yeah, like also giving up like your holidays and stuff to do like the internships, and like giving up your personal time to do like these educational things. It's like the motivation for that comes from like the real passion for what we're doing.
Yep, and how I like to think about it is we only have 3 years of uni for our bachelor's degree, so might as well use the most out of it.
Yeah,
and just live your life in that 3 years without any regrets. And
oh, it's funny because you go in first year being like, oh, it's 3 more years of school, like I've just done like all of high school and stuff, but it goes so fast. Like 3 years feels almost too short for university.
I agree.
Yeah, like on that topic, like some of us we're in our final year, but some of us who are doing honors are in our penultimate year. If all of us could have gone back to say like first year, what is it we could have done like differently? A lot of like hindsight, so something to ponder about, definitely. One thing I would it may sound like a very small thing, like say for lab reports, and I was really bad at them. For me, I was always under the impression like it's in SAM, it's fine, you know, I can do okay at it, because I always used to pull through in my final exams because that was the format I was more used to. Like final exams, because I wasn't like, we didn't have like 50% in SAM and then 50% NSAM written exams. So I was like, yeah, I'll do okay for my NSAM, and then I know I'm gonna pull through for my NSAM. But come to think about it now, for third year, we have 3 units which do not have an NSAM, you know. So yeah, I did improve on it eventually. Like second year I had to, so I did. But rather than me being compelled to improve it, I would have rather had me improve it from the start, rather than it coming to like, oh no, I need to improve this. It's like an imperative skill I need to inculcate or enhance. So yeah, that would be my take if I could tell myself 3 years ago.
Yeah, it's definitely like learning the time management and stuff, and it's like I really wish I could have been better at that. But it's like you've had to go through this and all the stress to get to that point.
For me, how much ever you do, how much you try to manage your stuff, manage your time, you can't always like keep up with the timeline, you know? Because say you allocate 2 hours for something, but it doesn't always like, oh, it's 2 hours, stop, it's done. It's always like it always goes beyond that. But in the process of managing your time, you can actually outline everything that you have to do. So you can improvise on the go because you know what you need to do. But if you don't manage, if you're just like winging everything, you're just gonna miss out on something because you don't have it written down, or you don't know what you're doing. Yeah, you're basically winging it. So it always helps to like outline your tasks and see what you have to do and what steps you need to take to reach from like A is like you started there and B can be the end of it there. So like, what do you need to do from your start to the end? Because you're always gonna like if you want to go to bed, you want to go to bed happy. Like, okay, today I finished everything that I had to do. So yeah, I think
suppose that's where something good like Megan's diary comes in, where you've got your daily goals and you can have like that 1 or 2 things you want to achieve that day. And if you do that, you can go to bed feeling like you've accomplished something.
Yeah. Like reward yourself, like you finished 2 tasks, like to go have a chocolate or like have a cake or something. Yeah, like it sounds like a very kiddish thing where
I do
this,
that.
We'll give you a chocolate, you get a lollipop. But
now sometimes it's like, if I can make it to the end of this week and do all these tests I have this week, then I'll go buy myself something new.
It's something to look forward to. It's definitely like, but it's like basic human behavior. But
Yep.
I think I've worked out what I would have done differently. Looking back, I think what I would have done is got more involved in first year and like got more into like the Monash community and got more involved in all the different projects, because like you just gain so much from it. And like they're not always as full on as you expect, but it's like putting in that little bit of extra effort on top of everything. You get so much more out of it that it's worth putting in that like bit more effort.
It's always worth it. And even for like the first years and second years watching, a lot of my friends wanted the assumption that, oh, you're doing career, like, because you have careers expo every year. And now that people think that, oh, I'm in first year, I don't need to attend this, I can just do this in my third year when I'm actually have to worry about this stuff. But that's not the best. Like if I was in your place, I would 100% recommend going when you're first year, because it's extra knowledge, it's more resources, it's more contacts. Like none of that is going to hold you back. It's always going to help you, and like it's always organized in a way such that you can make it. It can be during your mid-sem, or for me, first year, our careers expo was, for all of us, it was after our exams was finished. So it wasn't like we had other commitments. So I think it's just taking that extra step, and like I can testify that me going there in first year has always like, first you meet a lot of new people, and just in the whole process you just gain so much insight and advice from, like they could be your potential bosses. So it's just like a familiar face when you say you apply for that place and you go there and you see, oh, I was here 3 years ago, and that just gives you that competitive edge when you apply. So yeah, it's definitely worth taking that extra mile or like extra step, and
helps you build those foundations. And then it's like you might be putting more effort in first year with all of that, but then when it comes to third year or later on getting a job, you've got that edge.
Yeah, you're building on from it, like it's not like, it's just so much easier. It's not like, because you're in third year, you have all these things you need to do, but if you started working on those from your first year, you won't have as much pressure because you already know what to do. So it's just a learning curve, like everything,
I suppose that's another thing, getting into like the LinkedIn and stuff like that as early as possible. I know both Megan and Pranav both have very active LinkedIn. Like we're always interesting to check out and like make those connections with people in your year level, and like keep it updated with everything you're doing like in the course, because like we do a lot of really cool, interesting stuff.
Surely what your LinkedIn will be as interesting, Jess. but I totally agree with
I'm a bit slack.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you both said. And I actually have the exact words what Jess has said of what you will do differently during your time at Monash. I also had be more involved from the beginning of first year, from the very first day. Explore more clubs, explore the societies that you can get involved in. And I think what I will in specific do differently is aim to ask at least one question during classes, during lectures, Q&As, workshops, because that way it's also exposing you to your lecturer or the person that is running that workshop, and it's easier to make a connection with them once they already like recognize your face or your name or anything like that. So yeah, that's what I'm actually trying to do right now. Aim to ask one question each Q&A session, or each time I get a chance to. So yeah,
coming back, even for our first years, now I can tell you that a lot of the first years are under the same impression like, oh, it's fine. You know, a lot of people are still contemplating, is it too early? And you can actually make use of that, because not a lot of people are going to be applying for those positions. So it's always better to take advantage of the fact that a lot of people are not thinking the same thing. Say it's like for a club or a student union, there's not a lot of people applying for a first year position, but you applying for the first year position actually increases your chances when you subsequently apply for them, say in second year or third year. So it always helps. You should always think that what other people are thinking. And in this case, if people are thinking, okay, maybe not this time, you can actually make use of that and just, seize that opportunity.
Yeah, and big thank you for Megan for coming on and talking to us.
Thanks,
it was so interesting to hear about your internship and the time throughout this course, and to discuss what stuff we would have done differently.
Thanks a lot, Megan.
Yeah.
And
thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. We wish to acknowledge the people of the Kulin Nations on whose land we are gathered today. I pay my respects to the elders, past, present, and emerging. For those listening who may be based elsewhere, we pay our respects to the traditional owners of the land from wherever you may be listening from. I especially welcome any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people listening in today.